What if your emotional triggers are not a sign of weakness, but a secret map to your greatest potential strength? True power is not the absence of triggers, but the warrior's discipline to see them coming and to stand unmoved. This is how you master that discipline. How Real Men Control Emotional Triggers, Stoicism, compiled and published by Stoic Dominion. Lesson 1. Spot the first emotional spark. Imagine a lone sentinel on a watchtower, his gaze fixed on a vast, dry forest that represents his kingdom. A seasoned warrior, he is not looking for the raging forest fire. He knows that by the time the fire is a roaring inferno, it is already too late. Instead, his eyes are trained to spot something far smaller, far more subtle. The first, tiny, almost invisible wisp of smoke rising from the distant trees. He knows this first spark is the moment of maximum leverage, the point where a single bucket of water can prevent a catastrophe that 1,000 men could not stop later. This is the inner conflict we face with our emotional triggers. We are the guardians of our own inner kingdom, but we are untrained sentinels. We fail to notice the first tiny spark of an emotional reaction. We ignore the flicker of annoyance, the brief clenching in our jaw, the fleeting, hostile thought. The problem is that by the time we recognize the emotion, it is already a raging forest fire. We are suddenly consumed by anger, overwhelmed by anxiety, or lost in a blaze of defensiveness. At this point, our rational mind is gone, and we are left with only two terrible options: to be burned by our own inner fire, or to spread it destructively to others. We are always fighting infernos because we have not learned the art of spotting the sparks. The transformative solution, the first and most critical law of emotional control, is to become the master sentinel and learn to spot the first emotional spark. This is the practice of cultivating a heightened state of mindful self-awareness, training your perception to detect the very first, most subtle signs of an emotional reaction, long before it becomes an uncontrollable blaze. The core Stoic principle here is that of prosoche, or vigilant, focused attention applied to your own inner world. The Stoics were masters of this. They knew that a full-blown passion, like rage, was a temporary form of madness, and that the only time to effectively deal with it was in its infancy, when it was just a faulty impression, or a first movement. By spotting the spark of this first impression, "He is disrespecting me," you gain the priceless, golden opportunity to examine it with your reason before you assent to it. You can look at the wisp of smoke and ask, is that really a fire? Or is it just a bit of morning mist? This ability to see the spark without immediately fanning the flames is the foundation of all emotional mastery. To become this master sentinel, you must train your inner vision with the discipline of a warrior. The first actionable step is to conduct an emotional replay. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on one moment where you felt even a minor emotional charge. Replay the scene in your mind like a slow-motion video. Your goal is to pinpoint the exact, split-second moment the emotional spark first appeared. What was the specific word, the specific look, the specific thought that was the ignition point? The second step is to create a spark library. In a journal, keep a running list of these specific sparks. You will quickly begin to see a pattern. You might notice that a certain person's tone of voice is a consistent spark, or that the feeling of being rushed is another. This is your intelligence report on the enemy's tactics. The third step is to practice this awareness in real time, in low-stakes situations. The next time you feel a flicker of annoyance while waiting in line or in traffic, your only job is to silently say to yourself, "There, that is the spark." This is the real-world drill that sharpens your senses. The benefits of learning to spot the first spark are the benefits of gaining a profound strategic advantage in the battle for your own mind. You will stop being ambushed by your own emotions. You will find that you can extinguish 90% of your emotional fires with a single bucket of awareness, because you are dealing with them when they are small and weak. This practice will dramatically increase your sense of calm and control. The quiet confidence of a sentinel who knows he is a master of his domain, who fears no fire because he is an expert at spotting the smoke. Your practice for this week is to become a spark hunter. Your only mission is to notice and silently label one single tiny emotional spark in yourself each day. Just see it. That is the beginning of your mastery. Spotting the spark gives you a crucial moment of awareness, but that moment is useless if you do not know what to do with it. The next law is about what happens in that sacred pause. Next, we will learn the art of holding the line. To continue your training, please subscribe to Stoic Dominion. Lesson 2. Pause and hold the line. Imagine a disciplined line of Roman legionaries, their shields locked, their spears ready. In the distance, an enemy charge begins, a thundering wave of chaos and fury. The untrained soldier would break. He would either charge forward in a fit of aggressive passion or retreat in a surge of defensive fear. Both actions are a failure of discipline. The legionaries, however, have been drilled to do one thing and one thing only in this critical moment. They hold the line. They plant their feet, lock their shields even tighter, and create a silent, unbreachable wall. They do not react, they wait. This pause is not a sign of hesitation. It is a profound act of collective, disciplined strength. It is in this pause that the enemy's chaotic charge loses its momentum and crashes harmlessly against their unmoving shields. This is the inner conflict we face in the moment after we have spotted the emotional spark. The spark has been lit and the adrenaline begins to surge. Our every instinct, our every primal impulse is screaming at us to do something, to lash out, to defend our ego, to run away. The problem is that any action taken while in this first reactive surge is the action of the untrained soldier. It is almost always a mistake. By immediately giving in to the impulse to act, we are breaking the line. We are allowing the external charge to dictate our own actions, and we are sacrificing our greatest strategic asset, our ability to choose. The second law of emotional control is to become the Roman legionary of your own mind and learn to pause and hold the line. This is the unbreakable habit of meeting the initial surge of an emotional trigger with a moment of deliberate, conscious inaction. The core Stoic principle here is that the space between stimulus and response is where our freedom resides. A reaction is a form of slavery. A response is an act of freedom. The pause is the sacred space where this transformation occurs. The Stoics understood that our first impressions are often powerful and irrational. Our duty as rational beings is not to act on these first impressions, but to step back, to examine them, and to decide if they are worthy of our assent. Holding the line is the physical and mental embodiment of this principle. It is you, the commander of your own mind, giving the order, "Stand fast, do not move, wait for my command." It is the act of refusing to be drawn into the enemy's chaotic charge. To forge this iron discipline within yourself, you must drill the pause until it becomes your new instinct. The first actionable step is to create a physical anchor for your pause. The moment you spot the spark, your immediate trained reflex should be a subtle physical action. This could be pressing your feet firmly into the floor, clenching your fists for a second and then releasing them, or touching your thumb to your ring finger. This physical act grounds you and serves as a powerful signal to your brain. The protocol has been initiated. Hold. The second step is the breath. As we've discussed, the physiological sigh, a double inhale through the nose followed by a long exhale, is your most powerful tool for calming your nervous system. Your physical anchor should immediately trigger this breath. The third step is to have a holding phrase. This is a silent mantra you repeat to yourself while you hold the line. A powerful one from the Stoics is simply, "This is just a first impression." This reminds you not to believe the emotional story that is flooding your mind. The benefits of mastering this pause are the benefits of seizing control of your own destiny in any interaction. You will stop making the impulsive, emotionally driven mistakes that have plagued your past. You will find that the initial, intense surge of an emotion often passes with surprising speed if you simply refuse to act on it. You will gain a reputation as a person of immense self-control and composure. You become the legionary, whose quiet, unmoving strength is far more formidable than any chaotic charge. You win the battle not by fighting harder, but by holding the line with an unbreakable, disciplined will. Your practice for this week is to choose your physical anchor. The next time you feel even a minor spark of irritation, your only job is to perform that anchor and take one deep breath. That is you, holding the line. The pause gives us the space to think. But to think clearly, we must understand the data our body is sending us. Our physiology is the first and most honest messenger. Next, we will learn how to decode the signals your body is sending you. To support our work, please like this video. Lesson 3. Decode what the body signals. Imagine a master sailor at the helm of his ship. He is a student of the sea, and he knows that the ocean communicates in a subtle, physical language. He doesn't just look at the sky. He feels the subtle shift in the ship's pitch, the slight change in the tension of the ropes, the almost imperceptible change in the temperature of the air. These are the body signals of the sea, and they tell him about the deep, unseen currents and the approaching weather long before they become obvious. His ability to decode this physical language is what makes him a master navigator, capable of steering his ship to safety. This is the inner conflict of the modern mind. We have been taught to live entirely in our heads, in the abstract world of thought. We have become profoundly disconnected from the immense wisdom of our own bodies. The problem is that our body is the first responder to an emotional trigger. Long before your conscious mind has even formed a story about what is happening, your body is already reacting. The heart rate increases, the breath becomes shallow, the jaw clenches, the stomach tightens. These are the physical signals of the approaching emotional storm. Because we are not trained to listen to this language, we miss our earliest and most reliable warning signs. We are the sailor who only notices the storm when the waves are already crashing over the deck, because he never learned to feel the subtle swell of the sea beneath him. The third law of emotional control is to become the master sailor of your own being, to learn to decode what the body signals. This is the practice of bringing your awareness out of your head and into the physical reality of your body, treating its sensations as a primary source of intelligence. The core Stoic idea is the profound unity of mind and body. The Stoics did not see them as separate entities. They knew that a disordered mind creates a disordered body, and a disordered body fuels a disordered mind. A Stoic warrior, therefore, pays close attention to the state of his physical being. He understands that his body is a sophisticated sensory instrument, constantly providing him with real-time data about his inner state. By learning to read this data with precision, you can detect the very first tremors of an emotional earthquake, giving you a critical head start in managing it. Your body is not a distraction from your mind. It is your mind's wisest and most honest advisor. To learn this subtle physical language, you must practice the art of embodied awareness. The first actionable step is to conduct a daily weather report on your own body. At 3 different times during the day, simply pause and bring your attention inward. What is the primary physical sensation you are feeling right now? Is it tension in your shoulders? Is it a sense of lightness in your chest? Is your breathing deep or shallow? Do not judge it, just notice it. This is how you begin to listen. The second step is to create a sensation map. When you do experience a strong emotion, take a moment to be a scientist of the feeling. Where precisely do you feel it in your body? Anger might be a hot, expansive feeling in your chest and face. Fear might be a cold, contracting feeling in your gut. Shame might feel like a heavy weight on your shoulders. Map your own unique emotional geography. The third step is to use your body as a tool for regulation. The connection flows both ways. When you notice the physical signal of tension, you can consciously choose to relax that muscle. When you notice shallow breathing, you can deliberately choose to deepen it. You can use your body to calm your mind. The benefits of this practice are a much deeper and more intuitive form of self-awareness. You will find that you can catch your emotional triggers at their absolute point of origin, long before they become a cognitive story. This will make all your other control strategies exponentially more effective. You will feel more grounded, more centered, and less lost in the abstract chaos of your own thoughts. You develop a powerful alliance between your mind and your body. You become the master sailor, who can navigate the most treacherous seas with confidence because he has learned to understand and trust the subtle, powerful language of the ocean itself. Your practice for this week is to create your first entry in your sensation map. The next time you feel a clear emotion, simply pause and ask, "Where's this in my body?" Decoding our body's signals gives us the raw data of an emotion. But that data is often wrapped in a thick, painful story. To find freedom, we must learn to separate the two. Next, we will learn how to separate the raw pain from the story you tell about it. Please subscribe to Stoic Dominion to continue this journey of mastery. Lesson 4. Separate pain from the story. Imagine you are struck by an arrow. There is an immediate, sharp, and undeniable sensation of pain. This is the first arrow. It is a simple, objective fact of reality. But then, a moment later, a second, invisible arrow strikes you in the exact same spot. This second arrow is your own mind, saying, "This is terrible. Why did this happen to me? My journey is over. I will never recover from this." This second arrow is the story you tell yourself about the pain, and it is almost always more painful and more damaging than the first. This is a famous Buddhist parable, but its wisdom is purely Stoic. The inner conflict we face with any emotional trigger is that we are being struck by these two arrows simultaneously, and we do not realize they are separate things. A person disrespects us, the first arrow of pain, and our mind immediately fires the second arrow of catastrophic storytelling. This is a humiliation. I am a victim. The problem is that we become so consumed by the agonizing story of the second arrow that we lose all perspective. We believe the story is the reality. This is the silent sign of an overly emotional person. The inability to distinguish between the clean, simple pain of an event and the messy, complicated suffering created by their own narrative about it. The fourth law of emotional control is to become a wise medic of your own mind, to learn to separate the pain from the story. This is the practice of dealing with the first arrow, the objective event, with courage and acceptance, while learning to refuse to shoot yourself with the second arrow of your own dramatic, negative storytelling. The core Stoic principle here is the discipline of assent applied to our inner narrator. The Stoics taught that events themselves are neutral. The pain of an insult is just an impression. It is our judgment, our story, that is a terrible humiliation that creates the real suffering. A Stoic warrior trains himself to deal with the facts of the situation. He acknowledges the first arrow. Yes, an arrow has struck me. That is a fact. But he has the iron discipline to stop his own hand from firing the second. He refuses to assent to the catastrophic story. This doesn't magically make the first arrow disappear, but it prevents the wound from becoming a soul-destroying tragedy. To master this art of narrative discipline, you must become a ruthless editor of your own mind. The first actionable step when you feel the pain of a trigger is to immediately and consciously separate the event from your interpretation. In your mind, create two columns. In one, the objective event. My boss criticized my work in front of the team. In the other, the story. My mind is telling me a story that I am a failure and that everyone has lost respect for me. Just seeing this separation is profoundly powerful. The second step is to question the story. Is it 100% true? Is it the only possible interpretation of the facts? What would a more rational, more compassionate, and more useful story be? The third step is to deliberately write a better story. This is not about lying to yourself. It is about choosing a more empowering and rational narrative. A better story might be, my boss gave me some harsh but potentially useful feedback. This is an opportunity to show resilience and to improve my work. My character will be revealed in how I respond, not in his words. The benefits of separating pain from story are a dramatic reduction in the amount of suffering in your life. You will still experience the inevitable pain of life's first arrows, but you will be freed from the vast, unnecessary, and self-inflicted suffering of the second. This will make you incredibly resilient. You will be able to handle setbacks, criticisms, and failures with a level of grace and speed that will astound you. You become the wise warrior who knows that the enemy's arrow is a survivable wound, but the arrow you shoot yourself is almost always fatal. Your practice is to take one recent, painful event. Identify the first arrow, the objective fact, and the second arrow, the story you told yourself. See the difference. That is where your freedom lies. When you can separate the pain from the story, you have created a space of profound calm. From this space, you can now choose your action. This is the art of a composed response. Next, we will learn how to respond to any situation from a place of unshakable inner stillness. If you found this helpful, please like this video. Lesson 5. Respond with inner stillness. Imagine a deep, silent well. You drop a stone into it. The stone disappears into the quiet depths with a soft, distant plunk. The well receives the stone, absorbs its impact, and its surface quickly returns to a state of perfect stillness. It is not disturbed. Now imagine a shallow, muddy puddle. You drop the same stone into it. The result is a chaotic, messy splash that churns up all the mud and sends dirty water flying everywhere. The puddle is not deep enough to absorb the impact. This is the inner conflict that defines our response to the world. The stones are the triggers, the provocations, the challenges of life. The untrained mind is the shallow puddle. Every stone that is thrown in creates a messy, chaotic, and often destructive splash. The angry outburst, the defensive retort, the anxious collapse. The problem is that this reactive splashing is a sign of inner shallowness. It shows the world that we have no depth, no reserve of peace, no ability to absorb an impact without losing our own composure. It is an energy of weakness, not of strength. The fifth law of emotional control is to become the deep well, to learn to respond with inner stillness. This is the practice of cultivating a core of tranquility so profound that you can receive the impacts of life without creating a chaotic splash. The core Stoic idea here is that your response to the world should be a reflection of your own inner order, not a reaction to the world's outer chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The mind in a state of calm is a fortress." A response that comes from this inner fortress, from this deep well of stillness, is always more powerful, more effective, and more dignified than a reaction that comes from the muddy surface. This stillness is not emptiness. It is a state of immense, contained power. It is the ability to absorb a hostile energy, to neutralize it in your own quiet depths, and to then choose a response from a place of perfect clarity and strength. To cultivate the ability to respond from this deep well, you must practice stillness as a way of life. The first actionable step is to make your daily meditation non-negotiable. This is the practice of deepening your well, of becoming familiar with the silent, still space that exists beneath the surface of your thoughts. The second step is to practice the absorption technique. The next time someone says something mildly provocative, instead of immediately formulating a response, simply let their words enter your mind and do nothing. Imagine them as a stone dropping into your deep well. Watch the words, feel the initial impact, and then just let them sink into the quiet depths of your being. Notice how the ripples naturally subside on their own if you do not add more energy to them. The third step is to make your first response an internal one, not an external one. Before you speak or act, your first move is to consciously connect with your own inner stillness. Take a breath, feel your feet on the floor, find your center. Only then do you choose your external response. The benefits of responding from stillness are a profound sense of mastery and grace. You will find that you can navigate the most difficult and provocative situations with an almost supernatural calm. Your responses will become more intelligent, more strategic, and far more effective because they will not be contaminated by the mud of your own emotional reactivity. People will be astounded by your inability to be rattled. They will see you as a person of immense depth and strength. You become the deep well, a source of quiet, cool clarity in a hot and thirsty world. Your presence itself becomes calming because you have learned to absorb the chaos without adding to it. Your practice is to let one small, annoying event happen this week without immediately reacting. A car cuts you off, someone is rude. Just for a moment, be the well. Absorb the stone and let the surface become still again. To respond from stillness, you must have something to anchor you in that stillness when the waves are high. This is the role of your core principles. Next, we will learn how to anchor yourself in your core values. To continue this journey, please subscribe to Stoic Dominion. Lesson 6. Anchor yourself in core values. Imagine a great ship navigating a treacherous, storm-tossed sea. The wind howls, the waves crash, and the crew is in a state of fear and confusion. A weak captain would be lost. He would be at the mercy of the storm, his decisions dictated by the immediate threat of the next wave. The wise Stoic captain, however, has a secret weapon. Deep in the heart of his ship, he has a massive, heavy anchor. In the worst of the storm, when the ship is in danger of being dashed upon the rocks, he can drop this anchor. It sinks deep into the seabed, and while the storm still rages on the surface, the ship is now held firm, anchored to an unmovable foundation. This anchor is his core values. This is the inner conflict we face when we are emotionally triggered. In the storm of the moment, we lose our bearings. We are tossed about by our fear, our anger, our ego. We forget who we are and what we stand for. The problem is that a ship with no anchor is doomed in a storm. If you have not clearly defined and deeply committed to a set of core values, then when an emotional storm hits, you will have nothing to hold you steady. Your reactions will be dictated by the chaos of the moment, not by the strength of your character. The sixth law of emotional control is to learn to drop your anchor, to anchor yourself in your core values. This is the practice of using your most deeply held principles as your ultimate source of stability in any emotional storm. The core Stoic idea is that virtue is the only true good, and therefore our commitment to our virtues should be our ultimate guide in all situations. Your values, your commitment to honesty, courage, justice, discipline, are not just nice ideas. They are your anchor. They are the heavy, unshakable foundation that can hold you steady when the winds of emotion threaten to drive you onto the rocks. When you are triggered and you feel yourself losing control, the act of consciously reconnecting with a core value is like dropping the anchor. It stops the drift. It holds you firm. It reminds you of your deeper purpose, a purpose that is far more important than the temporary storm of your feelings. To use your values as an effective anchor, you must know them and you must practice deploying them. The first actionable step is to clearly define your anchor values. As we've discussed before, you must know what they are. Write down your top 3 to 5 principles, but take it a step further. Next to each value, write down what it looks like in action during a difficult moment. For courage, you might write, "To remain calm and speak the truth, even when my voice shakes." This turns the abstract value into a clear operational command. The second step is to make your values a visible part of your life. Write them on a note card and put it on your desk or your bathroom mirror. The constant, visible reminder strengthens their presence in your mind. The third step is to create a values-based response. When you feel yourself getting triggered and you have created your pause, the question you ask yourself is, what would my highest value, be it courage or justice, demand of me right now? This question is the act of dropping the anchor. It immediately shifts your perspective from your petty emotional reaction to your highest, most noble self. The benefits of anchoring yourself in your values are the attainment of a profound and unwavering sense of moral and emotional stability. You will no longer be a ship adrift. You will be able to navigate the most terrifying emotional storms with a sense of clarity and purpose. You will find that you can make difficult decisions with confidence, even under pressure, because you will have an unshakable point of reference to guide you. You will build a character of immense integrity, a character that is as strong and as reliable as an anchor in a storm. Your practice is to look at your list of core values. Choose one. For the next 24 hours in every interaction, ask yourself, how can I be a living embodiment of this one value right now? Anchoring ourselves in our values gives us stability. But true mastery is not just something we achieve once. It is something we must build day by day until it becomes our very nature. In our final lesson, we will explore how to build the unbreakable habit of mastery. Please like and subscribe to complete your training. Lesson 7. Build the habit of mastery. Imagine a master martial artist. His movements are fluid, his mind is calm, and his responses are instantaneous and perfect. He seems to operate on a level of pure instinct, a level that is beyond conscious thought. But this seemingly effortless mastery is not a gift. It is the result of one thing: a lifetime of relentless, disciplined, and often monotonous daily practice. He has performed his basic stances, his blocks, and his strikes tens of thousands of times. His mastery is not an act, it is a habit, forged into his very nerves and muscles through a million small repetitions. This is the final and most important inner conflict we face on the path to emotional control. We can learn all the lessons, we can understand all the principles, but if we do not commit to the daily grind of practice, our knowledge will be useless. We are the student who has read the entire library of martial arts, but has never stepped into the dojo. The problem is that we often believe that understanding is enough. We wait for a moment of crisis to try and apply these principles, and we are surprised when we fail. We fail because we have not built the muscle memory of emotional control. We have the knowledge, but we have not forged the habit. The seventh and final law, the one that makes all the others a reality, is to build the habit of mastery. This is the understanding that emotional control is not a destination you arrive at, but a daily practice you commit to for the rest of your life. The core Stoic principle here is that philosophy is a way of life, not a topic of conversation. The Stoics were not interested in what you knew. They were interested in what you did, day in and day out. They knew that a virtue, like temperance or courage, is not an idea, but a habit. You become courageous by repeatedly performing small, courageous acts. You become emotionally controlled by repeatedly practicing small acts of self-control. This daily, disciplined practice is the forge. It is the process that slowly transforms the brittle iron of your reactive nature into the unbreakable, tempered steel of a Stoic warrior. To build this unbreakable habit of mastery, you must adopt the mindset of the lifelong apprentice. The first actionable step is to create a simple, non-negotiable Stoic dojo practice for yourself each day. This should be just 10 to 15 minutes. It could include a few minutes of meditation to train your focus, reading one page of a Stoic text to align your mind with wisdom, and a 1-minute journaling session to review your progress. This is your daily training. The second step is to see every minor frustration of your day as a sparring partner. The traffic jam, the annoying colleague, the slow internet. These are not problems. They are opportunities to practice your blocks and your stances in a low-stakes environment. Every time you handle a small frustration with calm, you are preparing for a bigger battle. The third step is to track your progress. At the end of each week, take a moment to reflect on your practice. Where have you improved? Where are you still weak? This honest self-assessment allows you to adjust your training for the next week. The benefits of building the habit of mastery are the achievement of a true and lasting transformation of your character. Your emotional control will no longer be something you have to consciously struggle for. It will become your natural, automatic way of being. You will develop a deep and abiding sense of self-trust, the confidence of a master warrior who knows he is prepared for anything because he has never, ever skipped his training. You will have built a life of profound peace, strength, and integrity, not through a single act of will, but through the quiet, compounding power of your daily habits. You become the master martial artist, whose effortless grace is the beautiful and powerful result of a lifetime of unwavering discipline. Your final practice is a commitment. It is to choose your own small, daily dojo practice, and to make a solemn vow to yourself that you will show up for it every single day for the next 30 days. This is how mastery is built. Emotional triggers are not your masters. They are signals, they are teachers, and they are the raw, chaotic energy that a disciplined mind can transform into the very fuel of its own strength. The power to control them is not a gift. It is a skill forged in the fires of daily, unwavering practice. Thank you for your dedication to this journey of self-mastery. The discipline to rule your own inner kingdom is the noblest and most rewarding work a human being can undertake. If this guide has provided you with value, please like the video, comment with the lesson that was most impactful for you, and subscribe to Stoic Dominion for more wisdom on the path to an unshakable life.